This is Dads and Dunks, your To The Point Wolves Talk podcast. I'm Tom.
And I'm Josh.
We got some big news on Jonathan Kuminga, so we had to hop on real quick for a podcast. Go Wolves. Battling a little bit of jet lag here, but Josh, I see, let's start. I see a Saints shirt. How you doing? What's the story? How the Saints looking?
The Saints looked okay. I'm not sure about the pitching staff, but Walker Jenkins is the truth. He should really be up with the major league team. Go Walker Jenkins. So it's a good time. Tom, you were in Europe for like forever for a wedding, so that's way more important.
Yeah, I'm tired. 9 days. We went straight to Amsterdam and then to Bulgaria for my buddy David Gates' wedding and Millie. It was very sweet, really cool to see Bulgarian wedding traditions and U.S. wedding traditions, and getting together with about eight or nine of us from our Golden Gopher crew. All flew out there to be in Bulgaria together. So it was good. Everyone after college kind of went across the country and across the world, clearly, to Bulgaria. So really fun, but definitely feeling it. Shout out to grandmas and grandpas for watching kids. It was a nice reprieve, speaking of dads and dunks, from being a dad, but back and into full swing dad mode and work mode. So and we got Kuminga news. So
and podcast mode. And podcast mode.
So here we go. We got it. Jonathan Kuminga. My brain is the words are coming out more slowly due to the time change again, and the being awake for 24 hours yesterday on the way back home. But we're here, we're doing it, and I'm excited. This is big news. I think we had a question, if you want to start with one of the questions we had about our hype level. Just hop right into that.
First question. Thank you, Mikey Torberg, for the question. Also, Mikey is, I think, the first person on planet Earth to get one of the new Wolves jerseys. He posted he got a Jaden jersey. I think his mom and his sister found one at Shields in North Dakota last week. So that's amazing. I'm super jealous. But his question was, how hyped are you guys about the signing, and how concerned are you guys about the fit? Obviously, it's a low-risk, high-reward move. Personally, I'm not too worried and more just stupidly hyped, but I think the concerns are worth noting. So, Tom, first, how hyped are you about the signing?
Yeah, my hype level may be mitigated by the fact that I was gallivanting around Europe and I'm jet lagged, but I'm like, it was a good move. I'm not like, it's not like LaMelo Ball hype level, but I'm excited. We needed a power forward, and we got a starting caliber power forward, a player for minimal amount of money who has a really high upside, and the floor seems reasonable. I don't see any reason to be not hyped. I'm not jumping up and down screaming, but when I saw it, I was excited. When I saw the news come across, the Shams tweet, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm ready to watch the Wolves again. I'm back in." So I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna get him. I just assumed that he would go to the Lakers or he would go somewhere that had more resources. So I really didn't think about it as a possibility. So all this Kuminga stuff, I was just like, oh, he's not going to come here. He's not going to come here. So the fact that we got him is really cool. I mean, he's a talented guy. He was the main asset in that D'Lo trade that we gave up. People are like, oh, we had to give up this pick for D'Lo, so we got him back. So maybe that means we won the D'Lo Kuminga trade. But I mean, he's a talented guy. He was a top pick. He's a true power forward. He's to your point, he's a starting caliber power forward. It's also cool to me. I mean, we can get into his gameplay more and his fit and all those things, but we outdid the Lakers to get him. The Lakers wanted him. And it sounds like between the ownership and Finch and Connelly and even Anthony Edwards getting involved, we recruited him away from the Lakers, which I don't know when the last time the Minnesota Timberwolves recruited a guy away from the Lakers when we had a lower offer, is my understanding, because we just don't have the resources with our salary cap situation. So I think that's really cool. He must on some level want to be here. He chose us over the Lakers, and I think we're better than the Lakers. But I could see somebody argue Luka Doncic, Walker Kessler. They do have good players. They are still going to be a playoff team. So I think that's just really cool. Look at us. I don't know. I remember going in college, it's we're starting Luke Ridnour and JJ Barea and just all these crap players. We get Josh Howard on one leg, and I don't know. We just got Jonathan Kuminga for $6 million a year. So I think that's really cool. I think it does help the team. It makes us deeper. I mean, he's a good player. I don't know if he's the perfect fit, kind of to Mikey's point, but I'm hyped that we were able to get him because we needed a power forward, and he's without a doubt the most talented guy that's still available.
He's the perfect fit for what we could afford for what the team needed. If that makes sense. We needed a power forward and we didn't have any money. And we got someone who's like almost 24 years old, who's got plenty of room to grow and learn, who's probably hopefully a little more mature and can learn from Ant and LaMelo about their journeys and their maturity growth and fit right into a team that wants him. I think that was part of the deal too, is he felt the disgruntled nature of his attitude was not feeling wanted, and this team clearly wanted him. When you have everybody recruiting him, I think he felt the love to come to Minnesota. And to your point about Minnesota being someone who can land a player over the Lakers, even just being just to our last pod being in the sweepstakes for LeBron, feels good to be a team that's that highly thought of in league circles with Anthony Edwards and LaMelo and Jaden and the rest is true. And Rudy too. I think we will get through this team and where we're going to be in the West, because I think this does solidify us in the West in a way that we were maybe not before, especially in terms of depth. And I think we can get into the depth conversation a little more shortly after fit, because I know when I asked if this team was better, it was maybe 2 pods ago, than our team last year, if we were going to finish. And he said, I think they're about the same or maybe a little better, but not as deep. And now I think that maybe changes the calculus on the depth too.
Caveat, I think we're better. I just don't know if we're going to have more wins back then. I just think everything's going to be a little bit more condensed with the tanking. But I think now we are like definitely better than last year. And I think part of that, like if we want to talk about the fit now, um, he's not a great passer. He doesn't seem very interested in passing. He's not a great 3-point shooter. He's a career 33% 3-point shooter, which I don't know, honestly, like, is that really worse than Julius Randle? He's a 69% career free throw shooter. So like not a great shooter, but very athletic. I think he's really good in transition, which I think is going to help with like the way that we're playing. I don't think it helps with the spacing as much. Like Trey Lyles is probably a better spacing four if that's what we're looking for. But also like my perspective on Kuminga has been like he's a terrible defender. He's a bad teammate. Just from like some of the things that I've seen. And while he like seems to be bad at like team defense, screen navigation, maybe some consistency, it sounds like he's actually like a pretty good like point of attack defender. From what I'm reading from people who know more about me, who've watched the Warriors more than me, even like Jake Painting, who does a lot of great stuff on the Wolves, he talked about this. So I'm really excited about that. I'm interested in that from a fit perspective because I would like Jaden to not be the point of attack defender all the time. And if Kuminga can like do that sometimes, if Ant can do it sometimes, I'm just interested if we can like shuffle that around or have more guys with the ability to do that when certain people are on the bench. I don't know, that just gives me like some hope that I wasn't expecting to get from a Kuminga signing, is like, oh, he can be like a point of attack defender. Like that's really cool. It also looks like people are saying good things about his ability to like play on the weak side, like recovering and like blocking shots. So I don't know. I'm intrigued about that. I just assumed that he was like a poor defender in all aspects. So the fact that he might be good in some of the aspects makes me think the fit is a little bit better. It also does keep Jaden at the 3. I think it gives you like some lineup versatility. I mean, think about LaMelo has been an injured player. Our biggest concern is his durability. So like if LaMelo's out and you're like, where are we going to get our scoring from? I mean, Kuminga could just drop 20 any game if you like gave him the usage. So I don't know. I think he is a good. Let me take that back. He's probably a better fit than Randle when you think about like being able to be a point of attack defender, playing in transition, some of those things. In the half court offense, like I'm not quite as sure. Like again, not a great spacer, not a great passer. But I think, LaMelo's going to take up so much more usage and he's going to be that passer. Maybe he can put Kuminga in good spots to like use his offensive abilities. I don't know. What do you think about the fit, Tom?
I'm most excited about the transition aspect that you mentioned first, because I'm seeing this team getting downhill, moving lobs to everybody on this team from LaMelo Ball. And when you watch Jonathan Kuminga like lob highlights, just go watch him just posterize people. The amount of posters that are going to be happening on this team with how athletic they are. He's also like 6'8". So when you think about defensively, if people are a little down on it, I mean, we're going to be better just in terms of length. We talked about that with LaMelo Ball too. Like this team's going to be long and big in a way that before LaMelo and before Kuminga we weren't. And there's like, oh, this team's really small now. And we're not so small anymore. And we're also still super athletic. So if you're long and really athletic, yeah, you should be able to defend at a reasonable level, especially when your offense, like we've talked about, is ideally a top two, top three offense in the league. So I don't think that, yeah, again, what are you going to get? You're going to get a top five defensive four who can also space the floor for
Yeah.
$7 million a year. Your
Yeah.
roster can't have the best player at every position in the NBA at every spot. So I'm excited, but I think when you're big, long, athletic, and you are want to be here and want to fit into our system, that feels good. I think the attitude part is what people have been talking about him not wanting to fit in the Warrior system necessarily, but feels like he wants to be here and we want him to be here. So I'm gonna stay positive until I'm proven otherwise.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Like, I mean, you got him for the taxpayer mid level, like it's 6 point something million a year. What are you gonna get for that? Like, it's a bargain bin. And so to pull somebody like Kuminga off there is compelling. I mean, also, I think people would tell you like he's more valuable than that. He did turn down, I think, a 3-year, $75 million contract from the Warriors, which maybe that was a mistake. Financially, it was definitely a mistake, but he said like he didn't want to be there for whatever reason, did not get along, did not feel like he was appreciated, his role, all those different things. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. I think about too, like everyone was like, if we were gonna play Ayo or Shannon, or like how are we gonna cobble together this four position, or was Jaden gonna play it? And like, what do you do against these big, strong fours like Julius Randle or Zion Williamson or Giannis? And I'm not saying Kuminga is gonna shut those guys down, but I think you could like put Kuminga on Zion just as well as you could put like anybody on Zion. Like nobody's gonna like shut him down, but it's not like, whoa, what a horrible mismatch. Like Zion's gonna go for 50, because he's just gonna like kill Kuminga. And I mean, I say that, and like maybe he would score a lot against us, but I don't know. You've plugged that like concern of like we don't have a true four who can start. Do you know what I mean?
This was the best option, other than
Yeah.
trading Rudy for to for additional salary cap flexibility and some picks and for another four. Like this is it. This is
Yeah.
the best possible scenario for the Wolves. So I'm hyped in terms of this because I saw the contract. I was like, how did we afford him? Was my first question. And I don't know, maybe we get into what the financials look like and what we have to do next for how we afforded him. Cause that was my first question. I was like, I thought we didn't have any money. How did we afford Jonathan Kuminga?
Yeah, we don't have any money. So basically we need to, I think, shed like $4 or $5 million before the season to get under the second apron. So there's some options. I mean, like you could trade Terrence Shannon, you could trade Johan Beringer, you could trade Josh Green, you could trade DDV. Something that people are talking about, like John Krasinski and some other kind of insiders are saying that maybe it's likely that we waive and stretch Josh Green's contract. So this is something that doesn't happen a lot, but you can basically take a player, I think you can do it with like one player on your team, and you can waive them and stretch the contract. So you take that cap hit and you can spread it over like a certain number of years. The Bucks most recently, they did this with Dame. They took his contract and they split it up, so they're paying like $25 million a year for a number of years to get off his contract. That's how they were able to sign Miles Turner. I don't know if that was an awesome deal for them, but you could basically do this, and so then I think what I saw is basically like we would owe $5 million. We would have to we'd take that $5 million hit of his $15 million over 3 years. So it worked this year. But you're a team that's so tight in the cap situation, like that means the next couple of years you would have like 5-ish million of dead money. Like that's a couple minimum contracts. Like what does that do to roster building? But for this year, it helps. It should also be noted that Kuminga's contract is a 2-year, $13 million deal. So it's like 6.1 this year and then 6.9. It's like, there's the cap goes up. So the contracts go up a little bit every year. But it's a player option for year 2. So I mean, if Kuminga has a good year, he's probably going to opt out and get more. I would say it's very, very, very unlikely that he doesn't opt out. If he doesn't, that means he must have had just an absolutely terrible year. He got hurt. So it is like a solve for this year. It does kind of kick the can down the road for next year, but I don't know. Like beggars can't be choosers. It's probably the best thing we could do. And how else do you get him to come here?
If he has a good year, a good enough year, and he wants to stick around, I think we do have the ability to move Rudy, not for him, maybe for somebody else too. So next year we do have a little more flexibility, but I don't really want to kick the can down the road. That feels bad to me. I don't want to have dead money on the books, but if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. You hopefully you could trade somebody, move somebody. That would be my preference, just because I want this Anthony Edwards window. We need to be all in for these next 3 years, and I don't know that having 5 million is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it is. It
But it
is.
is.
It is though. Yeah.
Yeah, it also makes, I mean, we talked about this a little before we started recording, but like, I mean, what does that mean with like Rudy's contract? What does that mean with like DDV's contract? Like, what does that mean with some of these other guys? Like that there will be like repercussions from that. So I don't know. I'm interested in seeing what that does. But for this year, I think it's great that you're able to get him in. I didn't think it was even like in the realm of possibility. Not that he's like going to be an all-star, but he's going to be a serviceable four, which is what we needed. He has some contrast with the way Trey Lyles plays. We didn't say this, but like Kuminga's also like a pretty good rebounder. He hasn't played a ton of minutes in his career, so you're not seeing him averaging like 12 boards a game, but his like rebounding percentages are really strong on the defensive glass, but also like offensively. So I do really like that too. Like that one of the big things from not having a four like is the physicality and the rebounding. And he's not like a super physical defensive player. He's pretty physical offensively, but the ability that for him to help us on the boards, I think is going to be great.
He's 6'8". He's not thin. He's extremely athletic. He should be able to get rebounds. And yeah, like I said, not that physical. Anthony Edwards, because he's really athletic and he's not huge, can just go get rebounds when he wants them, as we've seen. So hopefully he
Yeah.
continues that. That's like effort and energy on the glass. So looking at random statistics, yeah, he's really super high percentile in snagging rebounds off of like missed free throws. And so just shows that when he's like in position, he can go up over people and snag rebounds because he's just big and physical and can jump out of the gym. So excited about that. And also, I guess back to my other more hyped point, which is a little bit of a tangent, is what I'm most excited about, I guess now, is Ayo coming off the bench. I always wanted him to be the sixth man of the year candidate coming off the bench on that contract. And this allows for that. To the depth point
That's a good
of
point.
having Kuminga, because Kuminga's a good player. We could talk about him, but what this does for the bench and the rotations and being able to mix and match players coming off the bench feels a lot better to me. I'm thinking about Ayo running the floor with somebody who can leap like Kuminga, with a TJ Shannon, I'd say a lot of people who can get downhill and are just really young and really athletic, all 26 and under. That's a formidable squad right there.
I mean, you could have some, random lineup in the second or third or fourth quarter where it's like LaMelo or Bones. I mean, they both push it. Ayo, Shannon, Kuminga, Beringer, or whatever. Like, you could have five guys who like all really thrive in transition, and you might give up a decent amount of points, or you might have some turnovers, but they're going to be flying down the court. And I don't know. This isn't the reason they made this signing or some of these moves, but I think this is going to be a really like aesthetically pleasing team to watch play basketball. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are watching the Wolves on League Pass. I think there might be some games where we're scoring 140 points. I just think they've got a lot of offensive firepower. They're going to play faster. Ant is probably like honestly the biggest like governor on that. He seems to like to play a little bit slower, but I feel like if those guys are running, like he's going to run with them. He might just not be initiating it, but I'm excited. Like I think this is going to be like a very pleasing style of basketball if we really lean into these guys' strengths. And I think that depth piece is huge because like you have to have depth to run. They've got so many guys who are like 26 and under. Like everyone's like, oh, this team has no assets. They have no future. Like, I mean, yeah, you've got Rudy who's older and Dante's a little bit older, but like everybody else is young still. And they've played minutes, like they're getting into their prime. I'm really excited about it. Ayo coming off the bench, I think, is huge. I don't know if he wants to come off the bench. He might not, but he just got his contract, so he should be good with that. But you could literally just play Ant, LaMelo, and Ayo, at the 2 guard spots. Or you could be playing, Ant or Ayo technically could be getting some wing minutes. You could be sprinkling Bones or Jalen Clark in there. You've got Shannon who can play different minutes on the wing. I do think Trey Lyles is going to get minutes, because Kuminga averages, I think, 22 minutes a game over his career. So I would assume Trey Lyles is still going to play. He plays a little bit differently. He can space. He can still rebound. You got Beringer and Rudy at the 5. I mean, maybe Isaiah Evans plays later in the year. I don't know. But, you have depth. So even if, guys get hurt or guys are taking time off or people are in foul trouble or you are playing really fast and so guys are tired, I don't know. I feel like all of a sudden depth is not a concern for me with this team. I don't know if it's a strength, but it's not like a weakness that I'm worried about anymore. What do you
And when
think?
Anthony Edwards was out last year, we had to start Bones Highland. If Anthony
Yeah,
Edwards needs to rest now, we can start Ayo, and then we still have an emerging Terrence Shannon Jr. to put in the lineup. I'm fine with an Ayo LaMelo lineup when Ant's out to try to win some games, vice versa. When LaMelo needs some nights off, we were going to have to pull in somebody else off the bench who wasn't of Ayo's caliber. So it does a lot more than just like who's in our starting lineup. It's significantly more than that in terms of value throughout the season when you add that piece for depth like that, so that Ayo can be that guy that can come in when we need somebody.
yeah, I'm excited about it. We had another question from our friend Scott Draheim. Scott said, I'm going to read this so I don't mess it up. I'm curious about what this move does to our ceiling. I know we don't move past OKC or Spurs, but maybe this moves us to 3 in the West. Tom, what do you think? What do you think this does to the team's ceiling? I mean, maybe you can talk about the floor. I think it raises the floor, but where do you think this puts us in that West hierarchy?
Also, the Rockets nipping at the heels of the 2 spot potentially, depending on. I mean, it all depends on health and injuries of every single team throughout the entire year. But my biggest, there's somebody doing something really loud outside my window, so it's really distracting. Uh, but but oh my god, I'm gonna go close that window and just cut this part or something maybe.
Sure.
But
Do you want to close it
Time's
right now?
literally going. You just talk and just keep going. I'll go close my window.
Okay. Yeah, if I'm thinking about kind of the West, I agree. I think OKC and then San Antonio Spurs are still above us. I would think we're in that 3-4 spot probably with the Rockets. I think Jokic is amazing. I think the Peyton Watson trade was not great. I think Murray and Gordon have not shown the ability to stay healthy consistently. They lost Tim Hardaway Jr. Christian Brown sucks. Jokic is amazing, but I don't know. I'm not really worried because what we showed in the playoffs is they just can't protect the rim, and we would just beat them. So I'm not worried about the Denver, even if they have a better regular season with us, which I don't think would happen. And then I think we're better than the Lakers. I think the Lakers are good. I think the Lakers will make the playoffs, but I feel very confident that we are better, and I don't know if we're deeper. We're probably have a similar level of depth, but I think we would beat them. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about the Trailblazers or the Suns or the Clippers or the Warriors or the Mavericks. I think some of those teams will be better than they were last year, but I don't think they're fighting for 3-4. So I think we're comfortably a home court team, in the first round of the playoffs, which is great. But you still have to go through those 2 teams in the second and third rounds of the playoffs. But unless something goes very, very wrong with injuries or something like that, I feel like we're going to get home court, which means you have at least a round where you're not playing those 2 teams. And who knows? I mean, I think the Spurs are amazing, but I wouldn't pick them to go back to the finals just because nobody goes back to the finals. It's too physically taxing. Wemby is a guy with a lot of injury concerns, so I think it's very possible that something happens to them negatively via injuries just because of all the wear and tear of this past year. Not that I'm wishing on that. I really like actually watching them play, but I would think that there's some negative impact to them. And then I think OKC got a little bit worse this offseason. So I would think they have more wins than the regular season, but this move also, to kind of Scott's point, I think it does raise our ceiling. I mean, I think the LaMelo move was huge to be able to combat those teams in the playoffs. But if you think about it too, by the playoffs, we should have DDV back. So you're getting more shooting, you're getting a fresh guy. I mean, he'll have a little bit of rust, but I don't know. This move to get Kuminga, I think, really sets us up for hey, we feel good about the regular season. Like, let's just be as optimized as we can for the playoffs and see if we can make a run against these two stud teams.
I'm already putting them above the Lakers and above Denver. The Rockets are the team I'm thinking through because they get Van Vliet back. He was a big part of not having them last year. They also had an injury towards the end of the season, which was unfortunate with Adams. So I think if they're healthy, they're going to be a team that we're in the mix with for that 3 spot. But KD, all-time great, is getting older. They do get a true point guard back, which they needed. I think their depth is probably as similar to ours. Our ceiling our ceiling is higher for sure. I think back to my
Yeah.
point about um, the depth in the regular season and what that means for wins and what that means for being able to rest people, what that means just in general, having another really athletic big body out there, regardless of how you feel about him and his defensive abilities, that's all a positive. So the ceiling is up. Does it put us at number 1 or number 2? No, but it's got to be another couple regular season wins under our belt at least, and then more
Yeah.
athleticism, more depth in the playoffs too, to have a solid 8, 7 or 8 guys who can really play decent minutes for us right now,
Yeah.
barring anything looking really strange or really different, because you have Beringer off the bench, you got Ayo off the bench, you got a TJ Shannon coming off the bench. Bones and Spurts played really well. Clark's not a bad player when you throw him in there and mix him into games. That's a lot of
Maybe,
bodies.
and maybe DDV later in the season or in the playoffs.
Yeah, if he can come
Yeah.
back and hit some shots, that's a lot of people who are NBA caliber players who can play decent minutes for you if they need to.
I'm also, again, not saying Kuminga is this like defensive stalwart, but I would be less concerned about a team like putting Kuminga in pick and roll than I was when we had Julius Randle. So I don't know. Those things make me feel good about it.
Yeah, I guess my hype level after doing the pod is even higher than my hype level when starting the pod, since I haven't been able to process this with anyone. Being in a very different time zone, 8 hours different, did not, and being at a wedding did not allow for me to have lengthy conversations with people about this move, since it took place. So, and being on a very long flight. So, yeah, I'm more hyped than I was when we started the pod. So back to circle back to the first question, more hyped than I was earlier today.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. Again, you have no money. You're able to get Jonathan Kuminga. You're able to, I don't know, out recruit him from going to the Lakers. I wouldn't be as excited if you hadn't done the LaMelo Ball trade, if you hadn't done some of these other things to make this work. But I think this is kind of a great, what I'm assuming is like a final move, other than finding a way to get under the second apron, which is, I would assume, some type of like, I don't know, deduction from the team. You're removing somebody, but unless we have to give up Beringer or Terrence Shannon for nothing, which I don't think the Wolves would do, this feels like a really great move, and I think it sets us up for a really fun 26-27 season.
I'm into. Any other final thoughts?
No, another final thoughts. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for training camp and preseason. I don't know if we'll like really get a ton from that, but I think it'll be good for this group to get together. We haven't potted since they did like the Team France trip. I think that's awesome. I'm so glad they did that. I think there's like a huge like addition by subtraction of just not having Julius on the team. I just saw Ant like went out to Jalen Clark's basketball camp he did for kids. Like it just seems like they're
Had
like
them all
really.
say happy birthday to LaMelo on FaceTime at
Oh
his
yeah,
camp.
that was in there too.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah.
I mean the vibes seem great. I mean there'll always be like adversity in the season. Somebody will get hurt or they'll have a rough stretch or whatever, but they're like feels like they're laying a foundation where they're gonna like work together, where they have that culture, that community, and I think that's very additive. So I'm very excited to see like what that does for the team. It makes me like really excited and think that we're gonna win more than I thought, because you can have a collection of really good basketball players, but if they can be cohesive and care about each other and want the best for each other and just like each other. I don't know. Anytime you've worked somewhere and you just like your coworkers, like you're probably better at what you did. So I think we're gonna get that with this Wolves team.
Yeah, last year's off-season word was continuity, and this one's like fun vibes,
Yeah.
togetherness, which is much more fun than continuity. That was boring, and that turned out to be garbage. But this is the vibes are good. They are so much better.
The Rudy video that he like put out on Twitter, like his production team or whatever puts it like for the France trip. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I just wanted to like run through a wall and just I don't know, be a target center. It was like it pumped me up. That was super cool. If people haven't checked it out, you can probably find it other places, but you can find it on Twitter under Rudy Gobert. It was really cool.
The team is young. The team is athletic. The team is together. They're enjoying each other. This is gonna be a good one. All right, you
I
ready
love
to
it.
roll it?
Ready.
This is Dads and Dunks, your To The Point Wolves Talk podcast. Follow, rate, like, subscribe, and tell a friend. Go
Go
Wolves.
Wolves.